Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This where I am from. It is afternoon, morning and evening for the rest of everyone else if you are on a different time zone. We are scheduled for a webinar today on the topic of AI, governance of AI in higher education. That's due to start at 2:30. But maybe we'll give it about 2 more minutes before we officially begin with the speaker, just to get everybody to settle down and come in and join the session. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you again, everybody, for joining us. In about 1 minute, we shall begin with the webinar session. Thank you so much for your patience. Okay, I think we can get ready to get started. Again, I just would like to welcome everyone to our webinar session. This is APSCE hosted webinar session number 65, and our topic today is going to be on governance of AI in higher education, perspective from Malaysia and Asian University Network. I would like to introduce myself, and my name is Nur Aira Abdul Rahim, and I am from University Putra Malaysia. I'll be hosting and moderating today's webinar session. Together with me, I have all my co-chairs who co-hosting the webinars together, Hazel, Mr. Husni, and Jazihan. And of course, we are welcome with the gracious presence of our speaker today, which I would like to begin the session by introducing her to all of you. Okay, so we bring in a special speaker today who are going to talk about the topic of governance of AI in higher education. I would like to introduce to all of you to Professor Nur Fadlina. She is actually from the Faculty of Computer Science and Information Technology from University Putra Malaysia. So she is also the current Chief Digital Officer of our university. Her research spans is in artificial intelligence and data science, with a core focus on decision intelligence, particularly adaptive, explainable, and human-centered AI for complex real-world decision-making. So Prof. Fadlina has contributed in various governance, research, and translational activities at national and international platform. She has led AI Adoption Working Group at the Public University ICT Director Council and the Public University Chief Digital Officer Council, both under the purview of the Ministry of Higher Education here in Malaysia. Prof. Fadlina's participation also is at international level in this context also include as an expert for the International Science Council, Royal Academy of Engineering, UNESCO Global Enabling Sustainability Initiative with Digital Education for Impact Alliance, and Islamic World Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. She is also an active research fellow at the UNESCO IIOE ICE Malaysia as well. So given her experiences, the topic today was designed to talk about all these experiences and lessons learned from her experiences in the governance area, representing Malaysia and also the Asian University Network. So with this, I welcome you, Prof. Fadlina Muhammad Sharif, as our speaker today to begin with our webinar sharing section. Welcome, Prof. Fadlina, to APSCE Webinar, and we are pleased to have you with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ira, and everyone. I would like to say my deepest appreciation as well to APSCE and the Special Interest Group, the IPTA, for inviting me today. Shall we begin, Dr. Ira?
Yes, sure. We shall begin. I
Okay.
have already unshared my screen so that you can share yours.
That's great. Hopefully you can see my screen.
It is coming together. I'll let you know shortly.
Okay. Is it there now?
Seems to be loading a little bit. Okay, now it is there. I can see it right and clear.
Right. Okay. Hello everyone. Let us start. So the title that has been proposed to me, and I'm happy to share this with you today, on the governance of AI in higher education in the perspectives from Malaysia and ASEAN University Network. I've prepared for you 4 parts for the outline. First, let's start with AI governance landscape, and then the AI governance in higher education institution, followed by some stories from UPM, and hopefully we can use the session today to learn also from your experience at your affiliated institutions, and then we'll wrap with summary and conclusion. Let us start with the first part. Maybe this is familiar to you, but I'm just sharing with you the recently distributed survey by HEPI, the Higher Education Policy Institute in UK, on the Student Generative AI Survey. So in this 2026, we have comparison between 2026, 2025, and 2024 in this survey. And what I like to highlight here is this section on the students' expression that they said they have included AI generated text directly in a piece of an assessed work. And if we see in terms of the percentage, this is increasing compared to the previous 8% in 2025 and earlier 3% in 2024. So I purposely start with this to give a context of the world that we are now today. And indirectly, from some other perspectives, people have looked at AI as an instrument to improve productivity. But how about education? In education, education is not necessarily about productivity. It is more about intellectual development. So how is AI relevant in here? And what is the shift that we must make? Many people focus on AI adoption at country level and organization level and so on. But the context that I wish to offer to you and let us together consider this is to shift from the AI adoption towards AI readiness. And in this, it highlights about governance, people, data, ICT and infrastructure, and risk and assurance against typical adoption as well. This AI readiness talks about capability and not necessarily just technology acquisition. Another important, hopefully we can consider this, another important terms for us to consider to make sure that we are on the same page is this distinguishing between AI policy and AI governance. A policy tells that a rule, what must be done and what should not be done and where the university is going. That is a rule. But governance instead ask about the rules, roles, processes, capabilities, and assurance mechanism. And it looks at who determines the acceptability of usage, how about the risk classification, who is in charge, what should be protected, what evidence should be maintained. So in all of this, today we are going to look at governance. Okay, coming back to what is happening right now. Globally, there are many AI governance approaches that has been encultured, promoted, for example, the OECD AI principles, the UNESCO Ethics of AI, and the United Nations Guide for AI. And other regional approaches, like in EU, they have their AI Act, the US have their AI governance, and the Africa. Today, I'm going to highlight with you about what ASEAN is looking at, and we will go through several documents in brief, such as the ASEAN Guide on AI GE, which was released in 2024, the expanded ASEAN Guide, which was released in 2025, and the more recent Responsible AI Roadmap, briefly. And despite each side of the world, all of these actually share the same direction towards human centricity, fairness, transparency, safety, and accountability. Let us look first at the ASEAN AI governance journey. Beginning in 2019, although there is no specific document being released, ASEAN has started with some discussions over coming out with its own principles, followed by the documentation in 2024 as a practical guide for organizations on how to govern the AI. And this is then followed by the 2025 guide specifically on Gen AI, then the Responsible AI Roadmap, and the DEFA, which is, this is more recent, on the Digital Economy Framework Agreement. So this is just to give you context about what is happening in ASEAN. The ASEAN AI governance model is based on the 4 operational pillars. And this is from the 2024 document. We will look at the first pillar, which is on internal governance. Here, the emphasis is on roles and responsibilities, accountability, organizational controls, and governance structures. So this is why if you are following some activities going on in ASEAN, people focus on which ministry or which agency is going to be the leader and champion for the AI adaptation and adoption towards becoming AI ready. Then the second pillar is the human oversight, making sure, and there are many emphasis over and over again on the human in the loop and over the loop against the human out of the loop, and the emphasis on human oversights and human accountability. And this also relates with the operations and risk and how to make sure that AI will be able to be used readily. So looking at the data availability, the data management approaches, the model environment, model testing, deployment and monitoring, and documentation controls, followed by the stakeholder communication, which here emphasizing on when you are purchasing or subscribing into an AI, make sure that you know how the model is being built. That is why if you are using existing apps like Claude or even like Crawl or even like the many applications, ChatGPT, whatever, you can see right now there are many explainability. The AI is explaining what it is being done. And this is all making sure the trustworthiness of AI. And the beautifulness of all of this, despite having a document at ASEAN level, there is no specific prescription applicable for all the country members, instead promoting the practical, risk-based and context-sensitive approach. Because in ASEAN, there are many races and many dialects and many to respect the inclusivity. But in 2025, there is another expanded guide being released with emphasis on Gen AI. Gen AI did not replace the ASEAN's AI governance. So here I would like to take the opportunity to emphasize a bit. If you notice, in ASEAN, the starting is actually AI. Although we at higher education institutions many of us started with Gen AI. But at ASEAN, it has already been park and place with this vision of AI readiness. And this tells that the 2025, although it is being a bit later compared to the other more general and more earlier publication release, This is more recent and it focuses on provenance, incident, security testing, and accountability, which can be further detailed with this. So, in that document, there are 9 policy recommendations for responsible Gen AI in ASEAN. First, highlighting on accountability, data, then on the trusted development and deployment. And this is when, ladies and gentlemen, many people started to talk about sovereignty, data sovereignty, technology sovereignty. And in 2025, there are many countries that have started working with giant companies talking about coming out with data center. And incident reporting, there are many work started on AI safety, and this also relates with policy recommendations number 5 on the testing and assurance as well as the security. So with this new business on AI coming up, people have now starting to prepare and making sure that the environment is safe for all. If you see item number 9, AI for public good, which has come as one of the earliest principles of many AI policy readiness and AI readiness in many countries, even in the several new iterations of governance documents being available, AI for public good is still being emphasized. And there are some new content as well, like the content provenance and the safety and alignment between research and development being inserted to make sure ASEAN countries is ready. And this is more detail on what each country has done. And we can look at both levels, the AI strategy or the policy, and the AI governance and guidelines. So this is where understanding between the difference between the policy and governance is important. And we can see that each ASEAN countries has both the strategy and policy as well as the governance and guidelines. And at each country's level, there are many agencies that being created and many programs that being created for making sure that all the principles, despite different national pathways, all still share commitment for responsible, trustworthy, and human-centered AI. All right, let us now zoom in into Malaysia on what we have in terms of our responsible AI principles. Some countries they use 8 principles, some use 9, but in Malaysia, our main difference is that we have item number 7, which is pursuit of human benefit and happiness. So if you look at the words, many of the words, if you do an analysis comparing one country to another, one region to another, one continent to another, you can see there are some similar parts. But for Malaysia, we focus on well-being and happiness, and AI for all, trusted by all. So to do this, in shaping AI future together, we empower people. And at the public sector, there is specific document that has been released called Malaysia AI Adaptation Guideline for Public Sector. And in this, there is specifically practical guidance for public sector agencies to adopt and scale AI solutions safely, ethically, and effectively. You may have heard this word being repeated over and over again: safety, ethically, trustworthiness, responsible, but how to make it happen? So in this document, the Malaysia AI Adaptation Guideline has emphasized the adaptation areas to be the strategy and governance, people and culture, data and technology, and this is making it more specific on the use and implementation of the AI, what AI use case to adopt to deliver public value, and integrating this into existing processes. And for item number 5, the risk and ethics. And this is also very important to monitor for continuous improvement, including monitoring whether the AI will bring any risk and any ethics violation. Now we're going to start with part 2, trying to zoom in further into higher education institution. So now that you know about typically what are the governance, policy, region, what ASEAN has done, what Malaysia at the government level has done. So for public sector, what what has been done, and how this relates to the university. This slide tells you about how to translate all those tips or guideline being available for higher education institution practice. So we are trying to transform from the principles to practice. And here you can see the components that must be there. First is on the accountability. When talking about the accountability at the institution level, such as the university, there should be a clearly defined rules and leadership and data owners, whether it is led by the chief digital officer or chief information officer, if not the vice chancellor, or could be also some institution decided it to be under the registrar, could be also for any accountability issues, and the human oversight, for example, in academic or administrative decisions, what must remain human. So today, I'm hopeful to share with you what are our activities in UPM regarding each of this, and we will share with you how we do the human oversight classification and for our implementation. For the data governance, there is much emphasis being given on data classification and consent. And for cross-border transfer rules, for example, when for the purposes of university accreditation or ranking purposes, some agencies will require some data from another. So the release of this data sometimes be exposed to AI. So what data and what content can be given to AI and what cannot be given. So this is under data governance. The risk management, this goes into the classification about what needs to be classified as something needs approval and something that cannot be released at all. So this is under risk management. For the testing and assurance tells about whether the AI has been tested for accuracy, fairness, robustness, bias, and safety before deployment. And typically, this must be done by an AI overseeing committee, and typically it can be also be considered as part of the ethics committee of the university. For the transparency, let's say one organization like faculty or school in the university wants to subscribe for a certain AI application. So the usage of the AI, the model, as well as the architecture must be made transparent. There must be also a unit that is handling for any incidents and any response plan that is needed and remediation, as well as the monitoring. So all of these are the steps, items that needs to be done step by step. Like in UPM, the way that we do it is by digesting from the global towards ASEAN governance requirements, because UPM is a member of ASEAN under the ASEAN University Network digital transformation. So that is the base of our content today. So talking about governance again, just now we talk about things that are similar, but to classify to you further, it can be repackaged into who is accountable, what can the AI access and do, how we can trust it, and how do we keep it safe. And all of this depends on the stance of the university, because there is no one size fits all depending on each university's direction and strategy. And all of this can be referred in detail if you have access to this document on the AI governance and ethics framework for higher education institutions, that this is under the AUNDX, where in this AI governance and ethics framework highlights on the ethical core, the academic mission, so highlighting that the AI must be used for teaching and learning, research and innovation, civil society, and administrative and operational backbone. And not only it must be used, but also how it must be used. It must be made ready with the functions on strategy and implementation, as well as assurance and monitoring. In Malaysia, trying to align with the vision of the Prime Minister. So the Prime Minister is really focusing on making Malaysia as an AI ready nation. One of the approaches that being done by the Ministry of Higher Education is subscribing for Gemini and Notebook LM to be made available free for all the public sector staffs, and for the public sector universities, all the academic staff has access to it. And for the students, they are focused into Notebook LM usage, although they can also access Gemini. And this license has been given for all this number, and there is KPI set for each institution to be provided to the ministry as the transformation measure. So to pick up on that, in UPM, we have this program called AI Champion and AI Ambassador, where if you notice in this picture, we have Dr. Ira here as one of the AI champion. So each of these AI champion has their own terms and responsibility for them to conduct on AI adoption at their faculty and school level. So why we do this? This is because based on our experience since using AI, well, maybe around 2022, we are now more sensitive and more aware on this possibly more severe could be, or could be more resilient on the AI induced cognitive offloading, which tells that the students might stop reading primary sources, and the students might be just skip some reasoning steps. Because this is all happening, they have any instruction on the assessment or any activity instruction, without further thinking, they just copy paste it and put it in any of their AI tools of their choice, which bring huge risk to themselves as the students, as well as to the education itself, on the long-term risk on surface learning, and could reduce epistemic resilience of education and the nation and fragile understanding. So in UPM, we has come up with our own strategy, and this strategy is based on this framework called SKUAD in Malay, but translated, it is in this form. The S starts with Sandbox and Smart Campus. UPM is the university that contributes to the farmers. We have our digital agriculture sandbox, where we are given some big portion by the government to conduct sandbox on farm with high-tech AI. And in this, we are creating environment for AI sandbox and smart campus through testing, development, and intelligent campus transformation. We also have competency and capacity building programs, for example, the I Champion and I Ambassador program earlier. In terms of the governance, we have policy framework development, ethical audits and compliance, which I will deliberate to you in a few minutes' time. And the applications and automation, we in last year, since last 2 years, we already have used AI to help for convocation services for students and also their caretaker and their parents wanting to ask questions related to convocation. Usually there are loads of email. So we have chatbot that is there to help them, and we monitor also the chatbot, and that is one of our example application of AI that we have in the university. We also have AI to help the ethics committee. We also have AI to help with the summary of documents and several more applications that we are building in-house. And for the data and funding, because now we are preparing to put the AI on top of the data layer, so we are strengthening our data foundation and fundamentals to achieve towards single source of truth with integrated system. And this slide tells you more about the framework that we have towards building an AI ready university. We have the assessments and managing the risk. So through the AI task force and activities that we have a specific unit in the university to take care of the AI ready task. And in this, we have the AI risk assessment guide, teaching and learning AI risk assessment that has been completed. We also have AI ready assessment guide that is being developed, AI code of practice that is now being finalized. So all this tells that it is very important to have clear roles, ownership, and accountability. And we have, if you have time, you can visit ai.upm.edu.my, which is our AI hub for us to share our announcement from time to time. Besides other platform that we also give to our AI citizens. We have the playbook and Viva and thesis guide, where in the Viva and thesis guide, since 2024, we have made mandatory for the students to do AI declaration when they use it in Viva and in the thesis. And we equip also for the examiners and the lecturers and supervisors preparing for the students. This year, we are focusing more on the digital agriculture sandbox at Sekinchan, a huge paddy field encompassing about 23 hectares, if I'm not mistaken, and preparing for RAG and our foundation AI model towards deploying and learning more AI for at the university level. So the highlight here is that AI governance is not only about controlling the AI, but also enabling for adoption at scale. So how we do this? We actually have a structure to enable many entities working together. For example, the AI for administration, we work with the registrar as well as the training unit to come out with structured curriculum for the staffs to be trained with AI. And many people say AI is nothing if we don't have good network. This slide tells about some stories on UPM. At our college, we are the only university outside China that uses this high-speed fiber network to each college room, each of our room at the student college has high-speed fiber network. And this is to ensure that when they learn, especially using AI, doing modeling and other stuffs, they would not have any internet interruption. Now preparing to part 3, more stories on step by step on how AI governance is being done in UPM. Allow me to quickly drink some water. So just now, talking about shared responsibility. In leadership, many people have said, how are we using AI in our work? This is where we have a dashboard to monitor usage of the subscribed AI applications, and we see that actually our administrators, the professional and the exec officers, they use a lot of AI actually to help them with documentation. And constantly in this year, we are preparing our strategic plan. So AI helps them a lot. We can see Notebook LM made slides at many places. The staffs and the professionals apply AI in many of their daily works. And they are asked nowadays, because AI is at administration level and among the staffs, because AI has been used too frequently, we don't require them to make declaration anymore, but we emphasize more on usage of AI responsibly. So in academics and researchers, academics, more importantly, now we are transforming, especially our assessments, and we are emphasizing the student on the importance and how they must make sure that AI does not replace them to do the critical thinking. And for our partners, we do many AI training for them as well. So in the governance principles, this is again similar, but emphasizing on accountability and human-centered. Why human-centered? If you look at this picture, let's try again. Let's try and think again. Let's say that you're using AI and And when you're using AI, are you really the one who is holding the power, or is it the AI that is more powerful than you? So if we look at the ability, the four ability that I have put around this picture that I also generated with Gemini, it tells about ability to question the AI outputs, ability to override or reject AI advice, to choose among the alternatives. We compare Claude, compare with Gemini, with Copilot, with ChatGPT, with even in the Google. And all of this goes back to our responsibility on what we choose to share with others. So this is actually indirectly our method of trying to manage the risk. And risk is one of very important step to make sure about responsible AI usage. And we can classify risk into four categories. For example, lower risk, moderate risk, higher risk, and very high impact risk. And in UPM, we do this to identify what could be the potential impact and implication, and who is in charge if something happens, and what AI should we allow to be used for that process, and what we shouldn't. And especially because in UPM, for us to use AI, we have many categories of AI usage. And this is also because we are always considering about and trying to manage between the AI threat and the responsible AI focus, trying to manage and balance between the loss of human agency versus something that we can make automated, trying to think between the dehumanization against the human dignity. Well, we can come up with an automated and very intelligent software, but is it really what we want? Do we want to make ourselves exposed to privacy erosion? How about data exploitation? And how about the lack of contestability and accountability vacuum? The more and more AI that you use, not just that you may bring environmental harm, you may also actually bring harm to your behavioral manipulation. And is that what we want, really? So that is why we have to take things step by step and with it in very careful manner. So we have to decide, what do we allow for the AI to be used? Is it only to inform us? Is it only to recommend us? And when this happens, what is the role of the human? And what is the role of the AI? And what is the role of the human and the AI teaming together? So we are thinking about human agency. For example, in admission, we only allow for the AI to recommend to us some shortlist of candidates with some scoring and prediction of their placement and all, but still the human needs to review. And when we talk about reviewing and the human, this actually tells about the transform role of the selection committee, which before this they maybe struggle a bit trying to go through this SQL in the database, trying to rank, but with AI, which can give more accurate, more precise, and easier elaboration, the AI can assist us, but there are certain limits for us to not allow the AI to automate. We only allow the AI to be there to read, and we stay over the loop or on the loop when the risk is acceptable. And we have some categories on where AI should not be allowed to decide for us, and when the AI should not be allowed to expose into our system and our data set, because we use agentic AI to help us with system development nowadays. That also actually tells our possible intrusion and risk of important and private information to be leaked. So we are really making careful of this. So how do we have all these breaks. It is because when we refer to the AI, Malaysia Public Sector AI Guideline, thankfully, in that document, there is this part which offers self-assessment guide for AI ethics compliance. So what we did was we take it and we create our own instrument. For UPM, we use that instrument for us to identify and mitigate the impacts. For us to identify which process allows the human over the loop, in the loop, out. So we know that by doing this, and it is not one person decision, it is done with a group of people for us to identify the risk level. For example, because we know that the risk is high and very critical for admissions acceptance, so the admissions officer, when they I give some recommendation after deliberation by a group of people, then only the admission officer will allow the recommendation to be adopted. And we have medium and low risk level as well. And all of this allows us to reduce any issue.
Prof. Fad,
So I've
sorry
talked a lot
to
about administration.
Prof.
Yes?
Fad, sorry to interrupt. I just would like to keep you alert on the time. We have about approximately 6 more minutes. Okay. All right.
Six. Okay.
All right. No
So
problem.
here it is about AI learning. So in this, the focus is more about the AI navigation, and I'll skip towards the teaching and learning framework. We have this framework for AI literacy, fluency, responsibility, and human in the loop guide. Because for us, it is not about controlling technology. We conducted this activity to identify which processes in teaching and learning that we can use AI and for what kind of oversight. And we conducted this AI course reform analysis. And this is my example that I have published. And this has been used in some part to do the AI redesign. And from the study, student actually valued the mentoring session by the human. And this is student-centered learning at its best with AI, highlighting the role of the AI and the role of the human. And to reform the course assessment, we have a category to identify which kind of assessment and which kind of course we can do AI proof, because some lecturers said for some skills, some learning outcome must be AI proof. Some of them allow AI resistant and some of them have AI resilient. So with all these categories, we have this governance in process for course assessment makeover, and we identify what is the marking change, what is the vulnerability that has been reduced, if there is any requirement of support, the AI must do what, the student must do what is the new evidence, and all of these templates have been shared with the Teaching and Learning Training Center for each lecturer to now reform the evidence and making sure that the students wouldn't have the AI cognitive offloading. And we do the same also for postgraduate students in their research activities. We conducted special training sessions for them on bias and interpretation risk, for example, highlighting to them what AI can and cannot do and what are the processes for AI and human. And we have also a course specifically for AI in research methods that is taken by all postgraduate students. And you can see here all the activities for research and how they I can be used, what should be maintained as human responsibility, because we emphasize that AI can support decisions but not own them. And I have to skip this activity due to time limitation. This is telling to you about how we try to sniff through and sense the requirement of AI integration for administration. We conducted this activity to identify administration challenges and the top AI needs for administration, their views, and you can see here this is real data that some staff concerns, some staff is interested, but what are the vision? They want AI to help them as an agent. What AI, what task can the AI do? What task must remain human? And our plan for AI transformation for UPM administration 2025 to 2030 with AI as an agent, making sure that we have the AI risk controlled. And all of this is tied to the AI adaptation methods in UPM, such as to just as low risk for feature in productivity applications, in workflow support, specialized AI that we built, embedding it in a core UPM digital system and using it in hybrid. So if I can wrap as a reminder, things to do when using AI, don't trust blindly, ask why is this the answer that has been given by the AI, ask the alternatives. When I say AI does not necessarily mean just the generative AI. I think I have this that I wish to share with you. Yes, this may be more related to IPSCE based on the documents that I have used in preparing the slide today. This is just sharing that maybe DICTAP can consider to pick up on this, some maybe 5 strategic focus to push more on AI readiness across the APSCE members, and specifically for the SIJ to consider having this studying disparities, AI adoption responsibly, to come up with network of real world educational AI implementations and examine what works where, from whom, and why. It is because AI is not important because it is a new technology. It is because the scale of operations, complexity, and management and expectations now is growing faster than the traditional administrative approaches. Year to year, we think that we are being more busier than the year before and before. So hopefully AI can help us make sure that we use AI responsibly. And the key takeaway, let us make sure that we have all of this, because AI readiness is not the end goal, but the sustainable impact for the people and the society is. With that, I end my sharing today. Back to you, Dr. Aira. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Profit. I know that you have really a lot of input to share, but given the time limit, we will then proceed with some question sessions with the audiences today who might be interested to tap into a specific matter. I can see from the chat and also the Q&A box, I already have 2 questions. But before that, so if I may call Pascal, because the chat that you mentioned here is quite lengthy. So do you mind if I invite you to interact with the speaker? That would be great. Okay. All right. I'm not sure if Pascal is still around, but never mind. I'll read up 2 questions, Prof. Okay. The first questions comes from Chiu. Yeah. He asks if there is any published paper on AI at UPM framework and how is this framework being assessed? That's number 1 question. And we have the second question from Brian. Most universities are using AI detectors, right? So what is your take on this? So perhaps you can also talk about it from a governance perspective, Prof. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the question. I'll try to answer the first one first. Regarding the framework, we have not to my knowledge, nobody has approached me or at least the center to be interviewed or study regarding our framework. I think it will be interesting as well to learn about other people's perspectives on what could be improved and stuffs. So let us be connected. You can just search my name, or if you can email to me, cdo@upm.edu.my. It's for the Chief Digital Officer. It's cdo@upm.edu.my. Then we can talk about it, and maybe it can be an activity by APSCE or DICTAP to do this, and we can take several university from several countries to do this study. The second question regarding the
AI
detector,
detector. Yeah.
yeah, we have that as well in UPM, and I think it is important, it is useful, and it is good. As an educator and a researcher, I think it is good because it is at least for us to have a baseline and indicator to know and sniff to be on the real world. Otherwise, we might be hallucinated thinking that our student produce what they have published or submitted on their own. But more emphasize that if I can sell some other ideas that we are building in UPM, what more important is a reform of the assessment. And if you are aware about what the International Science Council, Global Young Academies are doing now, is actually has been several years already trying to reform academic and research excellence measurement. So not only looking at the publication per se. So the threat right now is because many of the evidence that we use on the achievement is on written base. And AI is now competing among themselves and with us to try to show who is better. But if you recall, or if you have heard about the era of Aristotle, the university at that era, people built knowledge by debate, and they write, but they debate. And from the discussion, human to human, new knowledge is being built, of course, with some hands-on scientific work and data gathering and whatever, but not necessarily just based on written. So this is a reform that I think many people should take the courage to do, although there are challenges like big classroom size and all, but well, we are at the transition phase, I think. So now should we take the one that is long in the chat
Okay,
now?
all right. I guess this actually entails around a similar line because it talks, the question also actually asks related to something like AI detectors. Okay, so how should higher education institution handle plagiarism allegation fairly when authors appear to be targeted while the responsibility of journals and publisher receive less attention? Are there regulations or institutional safeguard that protects authors from false or unsupported accusation, particularly when plagiarism detection software may produce misleading similarity scores, for example? So that's one of the question. Yeah.
Hmm.
What
I
is your
think this is a challenge for people who write really well or too well. And they are false positive, um like you, maybe Ira, if you write something that maybe people will will assume that it's written by AI, for example. So in this is why the transformation that I highlighted earlier, it has been since several years. Sciences academy around the world has gathered and tried to come up with different measurement metrics for achievement of research. It's called research assessment reform. Yeah. So this mission is under research assessment reform. So if you are in a research management center or whatever, you might be interested to look up on this. But at the moment, okay, so now if we look at in our current time frame, I understand. So there are potentials that a person can be falsely accused.
Mhm.
So this is quite unfortunate. So this is where also we have to show more proofs and evidence on the building of the new contribution, not only on the final so-called evidence, more actually as a report, the secondary. So this is more important than ever for us to show the primary proofs. So the primary proofs comes maybe from our writing, from our engagement. So all of this, which is not our culture to share and to collect and to organize properly. But this is actually where human make their research, and the only proof that the research really happens and done by the human and not
So
by
the
the
human
AI.
become the substance then, the primary substance.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay.
So, but of course, the journals, some of journals are just making money. Of course, they don't care.
Okay.
That's quite
Along a
unfortunate.
similar line, I think Ryan is also asking another questions, two questions in fact. But one is, what is your take on AI in supervision and on the use of AI in supervision and article writing, which I think it entails back to the idea of assessment that you just discussed just now. And the second question, the next question is, how are you ensuring that students don't use AI to generate research data, especially in humanities? I guess.
Ah,
Mhm.
okay. Um, this is very interesting and very important. I recall in 2024, because I did involve in quite a number of training. In 2024, I tried to generate the data, and coincidentally at that time, one of my research was generative adversarial network, which is to generate data. So I tried just the typical Gen AI. Can it generate data and close? Does this synthesize data close to what is expected in reality? So this is where, especially in humanity, demography and reality of world may evolve from time to time. So what is known previously, so normal distribution does not apply. So how to make sure that the data is not tempered or synthesized or faked out? So you must, well, actually, in a way, supervisors has more work to do than before. We really have to ask the students to show proof that they go to the field and have to check whether what they do is really from them. And that is why when people say, for us, this is actually just talking about roles redefined. We used to check their writing, but now we know the writing may be just
Generated.
illusion, but what is it actually in it? So talk about more on the primary, because when we do this, we can actually measure and value more about their weakness and their strength as researcher. So shift towards that.
Okay. Since we have a little bit more time, Profat, I do have perhaps one last concluding questions for our very engaging session. When we talk about governance, you have talked about the whole initiative, and it is actually a long way to go, and it has started actually for a while. Wanted to know on your part, as somebody who has been hands-on in this journey, what actually is the most, when we talk about AI governance, because these are actually leveling it up to a macro level, right? What is actually the most challenging or messy part? What should we be prepared upon in the near future when we talk about this revamping this whole AI governance here? You've been there, so
Uh, Governance. Okay. First, technology, it can surprise us.
okay.
Sometimes we thought that we are prepared, but suddenly things come and just really make us in awe, and same to what the students also might surprise us, hopefully in a good way. So what we need to prepare is to tell ourselves and to equip ourselves to not be too complacent, and to try to familiarize with these trendy things that we used to think are our enemies. We have to befriend them. That's one. And second, I think the world, well, people talk about VUCA, people talk about chaos, complex, the post-normal world. It is actually true, ladies and gentlemen, my friends, dear fellow academicians and researchers, it is really happening. So what we need to do is just try to be resilient and cope up and fast to adapt with change, whatever change that is required. And I think what can make ourselves sustained and valuable is our ability to work multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary, and have skill sets more useful and valuable human to human skill set, which we know the AI will never have. Yesterday, I talked with one of the junior member in my team. So this person is an IT officer and her specific work is on AI user interface design. So she just got retrenched. And if you read actually in our area, computer science area, IT people also now have difficulties to get job because some of the job can be automated with the AI. So, but that person says, and because she was down, and I'm trying to listen to her. So the highlight is in her area specifically, user interface design is different from user experience. User experience is a skill that the AI would not be able to have. User experience skills will stay with the human expert if the human understand the needs of another human. So this requires that person to have psychology, to start to have higher, stronger psychology ability, business acumen, expression, close human to human communication, which they cannot do because that person says she knows right now her clients, she's working freelance with another company that I'm affiliated with. So she said that her clients know that they can use AI tool to generate user interface, but those people still need her because they are not confident that the generated interface is something that they would need and is right. So her strategy is talking to them what actually that person want and other person and what is the vision and so on, which they I cannot do. So the baseline is going back and try to be more human and more
Okay.
important human, valuable human to another human
Okay.
that will make us stay a stronger human than the AI that will never be human.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Prof. Fadlina. I think that is a very key takeaway as we conclude the end of our webinar session. I think there is so much more to discuss, especially in regards to how do we do this exactly. All right, that it is a long process. I mean, it is an unfolding process as we goes by, and as you said, technology can also surprises us. So part of the fundamental to this is that we have to continue to learn, all right, and also ponder and not and making sure that we are aware, okay, of what's coming and how do we actually making sure that the human centricness of everything become the center to what we do. So with that being said, I just would like to thank you everybody again, all right, for joining us, for spending your Friday afternoon and for joining our sessions today. Again, I would like to thank Prof. Fadlina, all right, for your very insightful sharing session for 45 minutes, and also for your response when you talk about governance of AI, okay, building in based on your own experiences and insights, and also to partake in perhaps further collaboration and recommendation that could benefit the whole network. I really would like to thank everybody, okay, for your participation, interest, and I hope together we can work toward a common interest of, working together more in the near future. Of course, I would like to thank you, Luciang, all right, for coordinating the webinar, and also for all my co-dictat chairs, okay, for being in support to the webinar session. So this is actually dictat hosted webinar session, and we look forward to hosting another webinar session next year, and we welcome all the participations again next year in another platform. So thank you so much and have a good Friday, everyone, as we descend into the weekend. And I hope we will continue to ponder on our role, okay, in this era of AI. We are, as the researcher, the educator, we want to stay relevant, we want to stay human-centric, and we just want to make sure that all the things that we do are beneficial to the human society as a whole. So thank you very much, everybody. Prof. Fat, if you don't mind, just give me a couple of seconds. I would like to snapshot a very quick picture. And for the rest of you, if you want to stay for the snapshot picture, we're welcome to. All right. And thank you very much. Okay. So 1, 2. Okay. All right. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a good weekend and see you in the next APSCE webinar session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Prophet. See you again, insyaAllah. Thank you, Hai Dr. Husni. Nice to see you.
Thank
Thank you again,
you,
everyone.
Doctor.
Sekejap, let me
Thank
take
you,
one.
Professor.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Have a
Thank you,
nice
Dr.
day.
Husni. See you. Nice to
Thank you,
see
Dr.
you.
Ira.
Mhm.
Nice to meet you too.
Salam Jumaat ya. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Prof. See you. I'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you,
Okay.
Professor.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.